I'm about to tell you something I've never admitted to anyone, not even to my own reflection in the mirror. I was married for 8 years, and for the last 3, I've been living a double life. And the worst part? I don't know if I regret it. My name is Sarah, I'm 34 years old, and I live in Austin, Texas. On the surface, my life looked perfect. A beautiful house in the suburbs, a successful husband, dinner parties with friends on weekends. But behind closed doors, I was suffocating. My marriage to David had become an empty shell, a performance we put on for the world while dying of loneliness on the inside. David was a corporate lawyer, always climbing, always competing, always absent. In the beginning, I admired his ambition. I thought his drive was attractive, that his success would build our future together. But somewhere along the way, between his late nights at the office and business trips that stretched from days into weeks, I became invisible. We stopped talking about our dreams. We stopped touching. We became roommates who occasionally exchanged pleasantries over morning coffee. I tried everything. I suggested couples therapy, but he said we didn't need it. I planned romantic weekends, but he always had an urgent case. I dressed up, cooked his favorite meals, left love notes in his briefcase. Nothing worked. The man I married had been replaced by a stranger who looked at me with indifference, as if I were just another piece of furniture in his carefully curated life. That's when I met Marcus. If you're enjoying this story and want to hear more real confessions like this one, please hit that subscribe button. We're working toward reaching 5,000 subscribers, and your support means everything. Click subscribe and join this community of people who aren't afraid to hear the truth. It started innocently enough. I had gone back to school to finish my master's degree in literature, something I'd abandoned when David and I got married. Marcus was my professor for contemporary American fiction. He was 42, divorced, with salt and pepper hair and eyes that actually saw me. Really saw me. Not the trophy wife, not the perfectly decorated house, not the social media version of my life. He saw Sarah, the woman who loved books, who had dreams of her own, who still existed somewhere beneath the layers of disappointment and resignation. Our first real conversation happened after class one evening. I had stayed behind to discuss my essay on emotional isolation in modern relationships. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. He asked if I wanted to grab coffee and continue the discussion. I should have said no. I should have recognized the danger in the way my heart raced when he smiled. But I was so starved for genuine connection that I said yes. We talked for 3 hours that night. About books, about life, about the ways we lose ourselves in trying to be what others need us to be. He told me about his divorce, how his wife had left him for someone who was more present, and how those words had haunted him ever since. I told him about the ghost marriage I was living in, about feeling like I was disappearing a little more each day. When I got home that night, David was already asleep. He hadn't even texted to ask where I was. The coffee meetings became regular. Once a week, then twice, then almost every day after class. We were just friends, I told myself. We were just two lonely people who understood each other. But I was lying to myself, and deep down I knew it. The way my stomach flipped when I saw his name on my phone, the extra care I took getting ready on days I knew I'd see him, the way I'd replay our conversations in my head late at night while David snored beside me, those weren't the feelings of friendship. The first time something physical happened between us, I wasn't prepared for it. We were in his office, discussing my thesis proposal. He was sitting close, pointing something out in my notes, and when he looked up, our faces were inches apart. The air between us felt electric, charged with months of unspoken feelings. He leaned in slowly, giving me every chance to pull away. I didn't. When his lips touched mine, it felt like coming home after years of being lost. I should pause here and ask you something. If this story is resonating with you, if you understand the complexity of human emotions and relationships, do me a favor and click that subscribe button. We're building something special here, a space where we can share the messy, complicated truths of our lives without judgment. Help us reach 5,000 subscribers. Just click subscribe. That kiss opened a door I didn't know how to close. We started meeting at a small hotel on the outskirts of town, a place where nobody we knew would ever go. Room 247 became our sanctuary, our secret world where I could be myself, where I felt wanted, desired, alive. In that room, Marcus would hold me like I was precious. He'd ask about my day and actually listen to the answers. We'd talk for hours, make love slowly and deliberately, as if we had all the time in the world, even though we both knew our time was stolen, borrowed, temporary. The guilt was crushing. Every time I came home and looked at David, I felt like a monster. But the guilt couldn't compete with the way Marcus made me feel. For 3 years, I lived this double life, teaching during the day, being Mrs. David Patterson in the evenings and on weekends, and being Sarah, just Sarah, in Marcus's arms whenever we could steal moments together. But secrets have a way of growing heavier over time. About 6 months ago, things started to change. David, who had barely noticed me for years, suddenly started paying attention. He began coming home earlier, asking about my day, suggesting we take a vacation together. At first, I thought maybe he was having an affair too, that this was guilt-driven attention. But as weeks passed, I realized something else was happening. He was genuinely trying to reconnect. One night, he took my hand across the dinner table and said, "I know I've been absent, Sarah. I know I've taken you for granted. I want to fix this. I want us back." I should have felt relief. I should have felt hope. Instead, I felt panic. Because I wasn't sure I wanted us back. I wasn't sure there was an us to go back to. And more terrifyingly, I wasn't sure I could give up Marcus. I told Marcus about David's sudden change. We were lying in our usual hotel room, his arm around me, my head on his chest. I could feel his body tense as I spoke. "What are you going to do?" he asked quietly. "I don't know," I whispered.
And it was the truth.
Here's where I need to be honest with you all. If you're still listening, if this story has grabbed you, please take a second to hit subscribe. We're so close to 5,000 subscribers, and every single one matters. Click that red subscribe button and be part of this journey. The situation became even more complicated when I discovered something that changed everything. I was doing laundry, something I'd done 1,000 times before, when I found a receipt in David's jacket pocket. It was from a jewelry store, dated from 3 months ago. My heart raced as I realized what it might mean. Was he planning to propose a renewal of our vows? Was he buying me a gift to make up for years of neglect? I couldn't help myself. I searched the house and found it, a beautiful diamond bracelet hidden in a sock drawer with a card that read, "To new beginnings. I'm sorry for all the lost time. I love you, Sarah. I always have." I sat on our bedroom floor, holding that bracelet, and cried. Not tears of joy, but tears of utter confusion and guilt. This man, my husband, was trying. He was really trying. And here I was, meeting another man in a hotel room twice a week, building a life in the shadows while my real life was trying to bloom again. That same week, Marcus told me he loved me. We were in room 247, and he said it so simply, so honestly. "I love you, Sarah. I know we can't be together the way I want, but I need you to know. I love you." I couldn't say it back. Not because I didn't feel it, but because saying it out loud would make everything so much more real, so much more impossible. The tension started to show in every aspect of my life. My mother called one day and asked if everything was okay. "You sound different," she said. "Stressed. Is David working too much again?" If only it were that simple. My sister Emma visited from Seattle, and over wine one night, she looked at me with knowing eyes and said, "You're having an affair, aren't you?" My face must have given me away because she didn't wait for an answer.
"Oh, Sarah.
"What are you doing?" "I'm surviving," I told her. "I'm finally feeling alive after years of feeling like I was dying inside." "But at what cost?" she asked. I didn't have an answer. Before I continue, let me ask you something. Are you Team Sarah stays with David, or Team Sarah chooses Marcus? Drop a comment below and let me know. And while you're down there, please click subscribe. We're building toward 5,000 subscribers, and your support helps us create more content like this. Hit that subscribe button now. Things came to a head 3 weeks ago. David surprised me by coming home early one Friday. He had planned a whole evening, Dinner reservations at the restaurant where we had our first date, flowers, the works. But I had already made plans with Marcus. I was supposed to meet him at the hotel in an hour. I called Marcus from the bathroom, my hands shaking. I can't make it tonight. David's home. He's trying. There was a long silence on the other end. Then Marcus said something that broke my heart. Maybe this is a sign, Sarah. Maybe it's time to make a choice.
Him or me?
This half-life we're living, it's destroying us both. Don't make me choose, I begged. I'm not making you do anything, he said softly. But I can't keep sharing you. I love you too much for that. He hung up. I stood in my bathroom, staring at myself in the mirror, not recognizing the woman looking back at me. Who had I become? When did I turn into someone who could hurt two good men at the same time? I went to dinner with David that night. He held my hand across the table and talked about his plans for us, about cutting back at work, about maybe starting a family, about growing old together. And all I could think about was Marcus, probably sitting in room 247 alone, waiting for a text that never came. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Marcus. Just 3 words. I need space. My world tilted. For 3 years, Marcus had been my constant, my escape, my oxygen. The thought of losing him made me physically ill. But I also knew I couldn't blame him. I had been selfish, keeping both men in my life, unwilling to let either go, unwilling to make the hard choice. I spent that week in a fog. David noticed, of course. His newfound attentiveness meant he noticed everything now. What's wrong? He asked one night as we were getting ready for bed. Nothing, I lied. Just tired. Sarah, he said, sitting on the edge of the bed. I know I haven't been the husband you deserved, but I'm here now. Really here. Can't that be enough? I wanted to scream. Can't that be enough? Where was this David 3 years ago, when I was begging for his attention? Where was he when I was crying myself to sleep, feeling invisible and unwanted? Where was he when I was so desperate for connection that I fell into another man's arms? But I didn't say any of that. Instead, I just nodded and said, I know. Thank you for trying. I need to stop here and ask for your help again. This story isn't over, and your support keeps this channel going. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do it now. We're working hard to reach 5,000 subscribers, and every single subscription counts. Click that subscribe button and be part of this community. Last week, something happened that forced my hand. David's sister was getting married in Phoenix, and he wanted us to go together, to make it a romantic weekend away. The same weekend, Marcus texted me for the first time in weeks. I miss you. Can we talk? I found myself at a crossroads I couldn't avoid anymore. Go to Phoenix with David, try to rebuild what we once had, choose the safe path, the legitimate path, the path that wouldn't destroy families and break hearts. Or meet Marcus, tell David everything, blow up my entire life for a chance at real happiness with someone who truly sees me. The night before the Phoenix trip, I couldn't sleep. I lay next to David, watching him breathe peacefully, completely unaware of the war raging inside me. This man had given me stability, a home, a life. He was trying to be better. Didn't he deserve a chance? Didn't our marriage vows mean something? But then I thought about Marcus, about the way he listened when I talked about my dreams, about how he encouraged me to pursue my writing, to be more than just someone's wife, about the way he made me feel like a whole person, not just a supporting character in someone else's story. I got up and sat in our living room, surrounded by all the trappings of my picture-perfect life. The expensive furniture, the wedding photos on the walls showing 2 people who no longer existed, the throw pillows that matched the curtains that matched the rug. Everything coordinated, everything in its place, everything suffocating. I picked up my phone. I could text David and tell him I was sick, couldn't make the trip. I could text Marcus and tell him I chose him. I could text both and come clean about everything. Or I could text neither and just run away from all of it. My finger hovered over the screen, paralyzed by the weight of the decision. That's when David walked into the room. It was 3 a.m, and he looked confused to find me sitting there in the dark. Sarah, are you okay? This was my moment. I could tell him everything. I could finally be honest. But when I opened my mouth, What came out was, "I'm fine. Just couldn't sleep." He sat down next to me and put his arm around my shoulders. It felt foreign, this closeness from him. "I know things have been hard," he said quietly. "I know I pushed you away for years. But I want you to know something. I never stopped loving you. I just forgot how to show it." I felt tears sliding down my face. "Whatever you're going through," he continued, "we can face it together. That's what marriage is, right? Facing the hard things together." If you're still with me, if you want to know what happens next, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. We're so close to 5,000 subscribers, and you can help us get there. Click subscribe right now and don't miss what comes next. I didn't go to Phoenix. And I didn't meet Marcus that weekend either. Instead, I did something I should have done years ago. I drove to a small cabin in the hill country that my parents used to rent when I was a child. I told both David and Marcus that I needed time alone to think, to figure out who I was and what I really wanted. David was hurt but understanding. Marcus was silent for a long time before simply saying, "Take all the time you need." I spent 5 days in that cabin, completely alone. No phone calls, no texts, no distractions. Just me and my thoughts and the crushing weight of my choices. I thought about the young woman I was when I married David, full of hope and dreams about our future together. I thought about the woman I became in Marcus's arms, rediscovering parts of herself she thought were dead. And I thought about who I wanted to be moving forward, regardless of which man I chose, or if I chose neither. On the last night, I sat on the cabin's porch watching the sunset, and I realized something. I had been so focused on choosing between David and Marcus that I had forgotten about choosing myself. I had spent 8 years making myself smaller to fit into David's life, and 3 years hiding in shadows with Marcus. When had I last made a decision based purely on what I wanted, not on what would make someone else happy or hurt someone else less? The truth was devastating and liberating at the same time. I had to choose me first. When I returned home, I knew what I had to do. I sat David down and told him everything. About Marcus, about the affair, about the hotel room, about the 3 years of lies and deception. I watched his face go through every emotion: shock, anger, betrayal, pain. He cried. I had never seen David cry before. "Why?" he kept asking. "Why?" "Because I was lonely," I said. "Because you left me emotionally long before I left you physically. Because I felt invisible and forgotten, and I was drowning." "But you could have talked to me," he said. "You could have told me how you felt." "I tried," I said. "For years I tried. You just weren't listening." The conversation lasted hours. There was yelling, there were tears, there was a rawness between us that we'd never experienced before. And when the sun came up, David looked at me with exhausted eyes and said, "I don't know if I can forgive this, but I don't know if I can let you go either." As for Marcus, I met him one last time at our hotel. Room 247. I told him everything I had told David. I told him that I loved him, that he had saved me in ways he would never fully understand, but that I couldn't build my future on the foundation of someone else's pain. He held me while I cried, and then he said something I'll never forget. "I hope you find yourself, Sarah. The real you, not the version you think you need to be for anyone else. You deserve that." So here I am now, in the aftermath of my confession. David hasn't left, but he hasn't fully stayed either. We're in this strange limbo, seeing a marriage counselor, sleeping in separate bedrooms, trying to figure out if there's anything left to save. Some days I think we might make it. Other days, I'm sure we're just prolonging the inevitable. I haven't seen or spoken to Marcus in 3 weeks. I miss him constantly, but I also know that going back would be going backward, hiding again, running again. This is where I need your help. We're building this community together, and we're almost at 5,000 subscribers. If you've connected with this story, if it's made you think or feel something, please hit that subscribe button. Your subscription helps us grow and create more honest content like this. The hardest part isn't the guilt or the consequences. The hardest part is living with the knowledge that there are no perfect choices, only consequences you're willing to live with. If I stay with David and try to rebuild our marriage, I'll always wonder what life with Marcus could have been. If I had chosen Marcus, I would have destroyed my marriage for a relationship born in deception and secrecy. And if I choose neither, I'm starting over at 34 with a failed marriage and a reputation that will follow me. My family is divided. My mother thinks I should work on my marriage, that everyone makes mistakes and David is trying. My sister Emma thinks I should leave, that staying is just postponing the inevitable. My father hasn't spoken to me since I told them about the affair. He's old-fashioned, and in his eyes, I committed an unforgivable sin. David's family, of course, hates me. His sister uninvited me to her wedding. His mother called me horrible names and told David he deserves better. And maybe he does. Maybe he deserves someone who wouldn't betray him, who would have been stronger, who would have ended one relationship before starting another. But here's what keeps me up at night. I don't know if I regret it. I know I should. I know I should wish I had never met Marcus, never crossed that line, never become this person. But those 3 years with Marcus were the first time in my adult life that I felt truly seen and valued. He reminded me that I was more than just David's wife, more than just a role to play. He reminded me that I was Sarah, a woman with thoughts and dreams and desires of her own. So what do I do now? Do I stay with David and spend the rest of my life trying to make up for my betrayal, watching him struggle to trust me, knowing that every time he looks at me he sees my affair? Do I leave and face the judgment of everyone who thinks I'm just a selfish woman who destroyed a good marriage? Do I reach out to Marcus and see if what we had can survive in the light of day, not hidden in room 247? Before I tell you what I've decided, I want to ask you one more time. If you're invested in this story, if you want to see how it ends, make sure you're subscribed. We're this close to 5,000 subscribers, and you can be part of that milestone.
Click subscribe now.
2 days ago, I got a letter from Marcus. He's leaving Austin, taking a position at a university in Boston. He wrote that he needs a fresh start, away from the memories and the pain. He said he hopes I find happiness, whatever that looks like for me. And at the end of the letter, he wrote, "You were brave enough to admit you were unhappy. Now be brave enough to do something about it." Last night, David came into the guest room where I've been sleeping. He sat on the edge of the bed and said, "I've been thinking. Maybe we rushed into marriage. Maybe we were too young, and we grew in different directions. Maybe this happened because we were trying to force something that wasn't meant to be." "What are you saying?" I asked. "I'm saying maybe it's time to let go," he said. "Not because I don't love you, but because maybe love isn't always enough." We sat in silence for a long time, and then he left the room.
I don't know what happens next.
And that's the honest truth. I don't know if David and I will divorce. I don't know if Marcus leaving is the universe telling me I made the right choice or the wrong one. I don't know if I'll eventually find peace with my decisions, or if I'll carry this guilt forever. I don't know if I'm a terrible person or just a human one, flawed and messy and trying to figure out how to be happy without destroying Ev. Without destroying everyone around me. What I do know is this: marriage is complicated. Love is complicated. Humans are complicated. We're not heroes or villains in our own stories. We're just people making impossible choices with imperfect information and hoping we don't hurt too many people along the way. So now I'm asking you, what would you do in my place? Would you stay and try to rebuild with David? Would you chase after Marcus and see if love can survive outside of room 247? Would you choose yourself and start completely over alone but honest? I genuinely want to know what you think. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you think I'm terrible or if you understand. Tell me your own stories if you've been in similar situations. And please, if you haven't already, click that subscribe button. We're building a community of people who aren't afraid to talk about the messy reality of relationships, and we'd love for you to be part of it. 5,000 subscribers is our goal, and you can help us get there. My story isn't over. I don't know how it ends, but I'll be here, sharing the journey, whatever comes next. Because if my mistakes and my pain and my confusion can help even one person feel less alone in their own complicated situation, then maybe something good can come from all of this mess. Thank you for listening. Thank you for not judging, or if you are judging, thank you for at least being here anyway. Subscribe if you want to hear what happens next. Comment and tell me what you think I should do. And most importantly, be kind to yourself. Life is hard enough without us beating ourselves up for being human. What would you do in my place? I'm waiting to hear from you.